Confused at the Buffet, written by Mike Barnard. Story, GPS to Hell, written by Mike Barnard, narrated by Mike Barnard. GPS to Hell. 7 miles. It was just 7 miles. Dana was a homebody, kept her circle of convenience small. Groceries, dry cleaning, even the pharmacy was within walking distance. Working remotely was great while it lasted, but now her boss demanded employees return to the office or face termination. Home is so comfy though. You can stay in your PJs and watch TV while clicking away on emails and spreadsheets. Now she had to go back to the office. Well, not the original office, but a brand new site. It's been 2 years since the pandemic. Corporate decided to downsize. The good news was it's closer to Dana's apartment. The bad news, she still has to go in. Dana did the unthinkable and woke up at 7 a.m. Back in the day, this was pretty normal for her. But she's been out of practice. She hardly slept a wink the night before. Coffee was her best friend. It took her an hour to get dressed, put on makeup, brush her teeth, redo the makeup, eat breakfast, brush her teeth again, and finally leave. Every time she stepped out the door, she rushed back in. First she forgot her phone, then her keys, and as silly as it sounds, she actually ran out barefoot. Maybe it would be better if she just called out sick. She obviously can't deal with life. Enough whining and complaining. Time to be an adult. Even though it's cold outside, her winter coat fits more snugly. She puts on a brave face and heads out into the world. 665 South Pitch Street was in a part of town she's never been before. The satellite view from Google Earth was a bit fuzzy. Hopefully there would be good parking. Hopefully there would be yummy restaurants nearby, and hopefully she can get there on time. It was 8:15. The trip should only take 15 minutes to get there. She had plenty of buffer time. The only obstacle was procrastination. After a deep, long, frosty breath, Dana started up the car and pulled out. Winging it was not something she's good at. It may be embarrassing to use the GPS for such a small trip, but she needed it. Head west towards Johnson Street. Turn left on Bella Notte Boulevard. So far, so good. She passed her bank and dry cleaner. Traffic was fairly light for Monday morning. Now she got to thinking, what would she do with the extra 30 minutes? Perhaps she can get an early start, take a tour of the new place. If there's a bagel place, she could stop in for a nosh. Most likely, she'd just sit in her car with the heater blasting as she finishes her podcast. She's been really into these historical mysteries recently. Sometimes she likes to spice things up with a hot pepper eating influencer. If she really got bored, she'd listen to FM radio. Turn right on the I-69 North ramp. No, that can't be correct. She didn't need to get on the freeway. When she looked at the directions last night, it said nothing about the freeway. Clearly, this was a mistake. Also, north? She thought she was heading south. Straight down Bella Notte Boulevard she went. There would be no way she was getting on the freeway. She just forgot to change the settings, that's all. Stay on I-69 for recalculating. In 300 feet, turn left on Rancid Road. 300 feet was too short notice to make an abrupt left turn. Nope, she kept going. It will find a better route. It always does. Make a U-turn. That's dangerous, so no. Dana was no dummy. On these slick, icy roads, you're likely to spin out pulling a stunt like that. She was not willing to risk it. But what she would do is pull over and try to readjust this silly thing. She turned off her phone and turned it back on again. That seemed to work. It was giving her more options. This time, she remembered to flip the avoid highway switch. According to her device, she was now 20 minutes away. Good thing she padded the time. If all goes well, she'll arrive with 10 minutes to spare. Hopefully they have bagels in the break room. Once again, she sets off. It's smooth sailing for 6 miles. It's actually so easy. Basically only 2 turns in the whole commute. She turns on the radio. Chandelier by Sia is playing. It's her karaoke go-to song. Down goes the window and up goes the volume. With the tunes a-flowin', she nearly missed an order from the GPS lady. Dana looked at her phone just as she was meant to take a left on Lambert Street. Thankfully, she was in the clear and whipped into the left turn lane in just the nick of time. The light was red. She took the pause in traffic flow to preview the route ahead. She didn't want to miss another turn. She noticed a Burger King on the map. This would work as a landmark and guide her in the right direction.
In 0.3 miles, turn right onto Dolphin Drive.
Dana has never heard of Dolphin Drive, but that Burger King on the corner will anchor her. She takes a moment to scroll a little further on the map. Surely her job wasn't too far at this point. As she was contemplating her next move, an aggressive honker was giving her the business. The light was green. Startled, she quickly made a left turn, which was not protected by an arrow. In her haste, she nearly collided with an oncoming car that swerved to avoid her. At this moment, her heart and head were in conflict. Blood rushing to her feet sent the signal to step on it. Get out of Dodge! However, she froze instead. Barely on the adjacent road, she crawled to a near stop. The honker from before whizzed past her with a mouthful of swears and a middle finger raised high. It took her a couple seconds to reorient herself. It was more embarrassing than anything, and now that no witnesses were around, she could proceed. She hit the gas and got back up to the suggested speed. Her eyes scanned down the road for this mythical Burger King. It should just be on the next corner. Given recent events, she dared not take another glance at her phone in fear of more honking. It was ridiculous. This building didn't seem to exist. She turned down her music, rolled up the window. This required the utmost concentration. Walgreens, Donut Hut, Bank of America, Verizon, 7-Eleven, Puff Smoke Shop. Oh, there's a Taco Bell, but where's the Burger King? Not once in the history of man was someone so keen on finding a Burger King, but Dana was bound and determined. She could not be late on her first day back to the office. No way. Sure, they would forgive her and life would go on, but she didn't want to be one of those people. You know the ones. She kept driving for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, the big stupid sign of BK was in the distance. As she got closer and closer, she felt a strange tingle in her belly. Maybe her body was having flashbacks to the time she ate the tainted Spider-Man-themed Black Whopper. The light was green and nothing stood in her way. Dana made the turn. Looks like she was going to be right on time. Her office was just a minute away, or so she thought. Surprisingly, the GPS has been pretty silent during the whole ordeal. Dana finally had the courage to look down. The phone had slid under the passenger seat, and even though it was connected via Bluetooth, the radio was turned down so low she could no longer hear it. As she desperately looked around, she noticed that she was not on Dolphin Drive, but on Richard M. Nixon Avenue. A stark panic entered her heart. There was no way she was going to be on time for work now. There was no telling how off the beaten path she was. Recklessly, she tried in vain to reach her phone under the seat. And now with the volume turned up, she could hear the sounds of the disappointed and nearly judgmental GPS.
When you get a chance, make a U-turn. In 0.0 miles, turn any directions. Please stop the car. Do not go any further. What are you doing?
Shut up! Screamed Dana. She nearly rear-ended a truck that was dead stopped in the middle of the road. Thankfully, she saw it in time and slammed on the brakes. Once again, she reached for her phone, but got honked at by the car behind her. She had to keep moving. In the distance, she saw a bridge with water under it. Although she was lost, she knew for a fact that she by no means needed to be on the other side of that bridge, so she made another random left. It was a rickety road with potholes and perils along the way. Her new plan was to simply get back on the road she was on before and drive past the BK and look for the one she missed earlier. Backtracking was the only way out of this mess. The GPS was going crazy, so she turned it off. Another left, and she found herself heading towards a dead end. Times were tough. She pulled the dreaded U-turn. A hobo darted in front of her car. She had to swerve to miss him. In the process, she ran over a loose manhole cover and got blasted by a wall of steam. Even with the windshield wipers in high gear, her vision was still obscured. She screamed and slammed on the brakes. Once things were clear again, she found herself slantways in the bike lane, 2 inches away from a dump truck. Before she could breathe, she was getting a call. The time was 9:06. It must be the office. Quickly, she grabbed her phone from the passenger seat. In her haste, it slipped out of her hand and fell to her feet. That darn seatbelt bound her tight with the release tab trapped in her jacket. She kicked off her shoes and tried to answer it with her feet, but the ringer went silent. There was a voicemail. She finally got the seatbelt off, but before she could retrieve the message, a cop turned onto the street. She put her seatbelt back on and crept into the lane with the phone nestled between her thighs. When it was safe and clear, she would take a look. Right now, she just needed to move. Her mind was fractured with 5 different thoughts. The urgency of making it to work, guilt from nearly ending a life, shame for being a bad driver, fear of getting fired, anger for a poorly designed city, curiosity to who's on the phone, panic over the potential of getting pulled over, and sorrow for not getting to finish her podcast. Okay, maybe that's more than 5.
Turn right onto Plumber's Crack. Follow the straight and narrow.
It's just an alley. There's no way she could fit down with her modest-sized basic luxury SUV. She found another road, humorously called Easy Street, but there was no time to laugh. She was already late. Honking and swerving, she didn't even care if she got pulled over by a cop at this point. At least the ticket would give her a good excuse to why she was late. It's not like they needed her anyway, but then again, if they didn't need her, they could fire her at any moment. Might as well be today. She needed to save face and show grace and be there ASAP with a smile on her face. Easy Street led her into a tunnel. Not really where she wanted to be, but that's how it was going. At least traffic was moving faster. Both metaphorically and literally, there was light at the end of the tunnel. As soon as she reached the end, hopefully she'll have a better sense of where she was and where she needed to go. On the other side, a bright light burned her eyes. Once she could see clearly again, she was in disbelief. This did not look like the fun, vibrant city she lived in for the past 9 years. The buildings were boarded up and abandoned. The streets were paved in trash. A derelict man in a cheap Homer Simpson costume slept next to a burning Little Caesars, completely unaware of life. Hookers and skanks ran up to her from across the street in hopes she would solicit their services. It was a disgusting affair. She just wanted to get to work. Pimps and Johns duked it out on the sidewalk, not a cop in sight. A way out was desperately needed. It was clear this area was wretched and nowhere near her place of employment. Strangely, there seems to be no other roads, not even in the opposite direction. Somehow she was on a very long one-way street. There was no choice but to keep going. Fast food joints and taco trucks fed fat slobs. Check-cashing lotto stands and casinos lined the strip. Poor saps eagerly spend their last dime in hopes of making $1. Others did not leave their fortunes to chance. They took action with ski masks and guns. Dana witnessed the Honda in front of her get carjacked. Calling the police would be pointless in a place like this. She sped around the scene and pulled into a parking lot of what looked like a church. At this moment, she didn't care if she missed the whole day. She just wanted to get home safe. She parked her car next to a van that had the word Jesus on the side. A scruffy-looking man cloaked in black hopped out and walked up to her car. Without thinking twice, she rolled down the window. "Excuse me, Father. Can you help me?" "Oh, what's wrong, baby?" said the shabby, not-so-holy man. "Come to Daddy." The priest imposter grabbed the handle of her car door and tried to open it, but it was locked. Furiously, he tried to reach in and unlock it himself. Dana screamed and sped away, ripping off the man's middle finger in the process. She pulled back onto Easy Street, going the wrong way. She didn't care. Suddenly, the sky darkened like a heavy thunderstorm in the middle of the night. Quickly, she turned on her high beams, weaved in and out between oncoming cars. Flashes of lightning struck the ground. Fire shot up from the sewers. A vile gas filled the air. "God, please help me!" she screamed at the top of her lungs in vain. She was a long-lived atheist, but now with literal hellfire surrounding her, she was more apt to believe in God, Jesus, or Muhammad, or anyone that could deliver her from this evil. The situation worsened by the second, so the faster she drove. The ground underneath her began to fall apart. Cloven-hoofed beasts ran rampant. Serpents slithered in the streets. A flock of ravens flew directly at her. She had to keep going. The tunnel was near, just a little further. The homeless Homer Simpson lay dead with his eyes gouged out. An eerie, high-pitched moan cut the silence. Screams of the damned joined the soundscape. Pleas for help and mercy billowed from every direction. Faster and more aggressively she drove. There were no longer cars in her way, but piles of ash and bone. Then, like out of a nightmare, rose spooky, scary skeletons that sent shivers down her spine. Other unholy creatures descended to run her amok. Ghosts, ghouls, goblins, specters, spirits, and hordes of demonic entities began to swirl, brushing up against the vehicle, corroding the metal. Her only hope was to make it through the tunnel. It was her only saving grace, and maybe on the other side she can get her head checked, but until then, she needed to keep going. She was almost there when a river of lava cut in front of her. Thinking fast, she whipped to the right and drove up a cement slab like a ramp. She flew through the air like the Dukes of Hazzard. Up in the sky, a large, foul, dark energy in the shape of a man swung a flaming sword down upon her slowly. The car landed hard, destroying the suspension and shattering the windshield. She gunned it. The entrance was just a few feet away. On the sidelines stood Adolf Hitler, Osama bin Laden, Jim Jones, Bloody Mary, Mao Zedong, Ronald Reagan, Dracula, Elvis Presley, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Dahmer, Genghis Khan, and Jared from Subway. There was no time to comprehend the amount of wickedness sat before her. Abruptly, the car came to a screeching halt, mere inches away from salvation. A tall, foreboding figure stood directly in front of her. His legs were like that of a goat. His gut was hanging out with a pentagram tattooed on his belly button. His chest was built like he definitely lifts, bro. His face was beet red. A pencil-thin mustache lined his upper lip. He had 3 piercings in his left eyebrow. Lastly, he was rocking a mullet. It was none other than the Prince of Darkness, Satan himself.
Make a U-turn.
Shut the hell up! The devil was grinning from ear to wax-encrusted ear. With his long, gnarly index finger, he pointed and mouthed the words, "Roll down your window." Dana closed her eyes and shook her head fiercely. The sound of hooves tapping on the broken asphalt clicked closer and closer. Then a knock on the window. It rattled her so bad, her eyes sprung open to see Satan's face smiling at her. He knocked again. "Not today, Satan! Not ever!" cried Dana. With a crank of his fist, Heckman magically lowered the car window. Dana was helpless despite her attempts to override the action. Now with the window fully down, Satan gripped the frame and popped in his whole head. "Hey there. Are you lost?" calmly asked Lucifer. Yes, answered Dana, while leaning back as far as she could as if the man had bad breath, which he did. "Let me guess. You're not trying to be in hell, right?" No, sir." "All right, ma'am. Where are you headed?" My office?" "Which is where?" 667 Pitch Street?" "Oh, no way. I know right where that is. My practice is across the street." "Your practice?" "Yeah, my legal branch. The law offices of BLZ and Bub." "Oh, neat." "Yeah, so anyway, you just go through this tunnel and head straight until you see Burger King. Then turn right." "At Burger King?" "Well, actually, it's a little service road half a block past it. It's kind of easy to miss. Next time I suggest taking the freeway. It's actually more direct." "Oh, okay. Thank you, Satan." "No prob. Take it easy. See you soon." "What?" "Never mind. Have a nice day." "Thanks. You too." Stunned, Dana rolls up her window. The Prince of Darkness was in the rearview mirror, waving bye-bye. A bright light blinded her once again, but only for a second. She made it back on the road. She followed the devil's direction to the Burger King, to the service road, and finally pulled up to work.
"You have reached your destination."
Smelling like brimstone, Dana spritzed herself with her emergency perfume contained within the glove box. All things considered, she's looking pretty presentable. That's more than she can say about her poor ride. It barely got there in one piece and collapsed as soon as she parked. All in all, she was an hour late, which didn't faze anyone. Everyone seemed to be going through it. Unfortunately, her car was towed and impounded for being a heap of rubbish. She didn't mind too much. Her co-worker Virgil offered to give her a ride home and back in the morning. One thing's for sure, she won't be listening to that stupid GPS. The end.